So this is week 2, and here in week 2 we get more of the same quests as before. So I've picked up the weekly ones, and in fact done most of them. And in week 2 there is a nice change that's different. It maybe even happened in week 1 and I didn't even notice it. But if we go to the back of our ship, so looking at the map, we're at the back of the galleon. Which, by the way, if you look at this galleon, you can also see that I am holding a miniature of it. So this is actual Spelljammer miniature here that I can't see it. So there you go. The actual Space Galleon miniature from WizKids for Wizards of the Coast. And even better, I'll show you the Star Moth. So you can see these guys can, take on each other, and you can see the size difference, which is totally different. Now, they did say in the first quest that we took on that it was a modified extra large galleon. You can see how true that is, because this thing is tiny compared to the Star Moth, but in the game is much bigger. So they've made this real big. I also think they've made this kind of bigger too, compared to the amount of space that's on a deck, right? So these tend to be actually quite small in terms of the actual plans, and they have kind of neat kind of outer areas, those awesome storage areas, and that forms the kind of back of the moth, if you will. So in our weekly event, we can come back here and we can see that, lo and behold, look, you may remember there was actually a device there. I think that was sort of an error, but the strange magical devices we got in the quest are here, and the cube that we got in the quest is here, and Quarza the Mercane is. So in terms of building alliances, it looks like actually they're showing up here, and maybe they'll all have little spots here on our ship. We go out here and we see there's Grandmaster Nasraka, and he's got one of those little meditation areas with the prayer beads that we got right in our quest. Very nice touch. And then over in this corner, looks like maybe someone else will show up to join. But I think that there are actually, all the folks that we've helped have now shown up on our ship and are part of it, which is kind of cool. Kind of just showing that they're working with us and part of the alliance. So presumably, as we travel to more planets, then we will see them join our forces. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to focus on covering the quests. Are kind of very similar. They're a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same thing. Going to those different spots that we found in the 3 planets that we've been on. Our missions take us to Ramichi space and kind of redoing Planet Ramichi, where the Mercane were, helping on the asteroid with the mind flayers, and helping our friends in Beloria with the enemy astral elves. So those 3 kind of continue to be the situation for this second week. And then what I'll do is cover kind of the heroic encounters that happen on all 3 of these, and the major battle which takes place. And so the first part is you can look at this tracker over here, the Xaryxian Invasion. When it reaches the end, we will be able to do the Xaryxian Invasion. We can also find an instance that has people space in it, and we can join that. Okay, looks like someone has invited me to their instance, and you can see the invasion is flashing. And what I do is I map travel to Gabion space, and there the Xaryxian Invasion is now lit up, and you can travel there. You normally can't travel. Now, the planet will hilariously look a lot like the asteroid Zarbos, where we worked against the Mind Flayers, and it is the exact same map with a couple of things added on. And you can do a number of things. So you can just fight, like the person invited me is here, doing some fights. So sure, I'll join in and fight, but we don't really need to do this. We do want these buzz jewels, and that's sort of the point currency-wise here. But what you end up actually doing is you jump around through the low gravity, and you can see the cool thing, the docks here with the star moths here. So we want to go to 3 different spots that are on this map, arguably 4. But 3 major ones. So if you come here, you see there are a bunch of people already here. And there's a little chest here. And we loot these Xaryxian supplies. Not a terrible idea. Go to their camp, take their stuff. Doing so gives us these buzz jewels, this currency that we're going to need for advancing our weekly events. And we can jump past all the bad guys through the kind of cool effect of the low gravity, which I love, especially on my giant crab mount. I think it looks really fun. And we go towards this second star moth. You see this guy here, and the one in the middle. And coming out here, you can see there's a boss. And so we can do two things. We can fight the boss. The boss will give a random amount of this currency that we're looking for. And it will also, we can do, there's a chest here as well, like the one that we just raided, the Xaryxian supplies. With, good folks, this goes very quickly, attacking this boss. The boss is not particularly lethal, not that he can't, take anyone out, but he is less likely to do so. And we can take anyone else that we aggro. But ideally, you don't want to like fight anything else. You really just want to take on these guys, the bosses. Come over to the spot where the chest is, grab the Xaryxian supplies, and head off. And that does, unfortunately, take a little bit from the wonder of it because, look, we're in that cool, we're on this star moth, right? Like, it's so neat. Like, it's really cool, but we really just want to run to the next thing. A lot of times you'll see people die as they try to make this jump. It's not easy. I've died many times. I do love, you get to see from the dock, what the asteroid looks like. And the star moths, I mean, that is awesome looking, right? Look at that. That's the kind of thing you want to describe to players when you're running a tabletop game and have them really imagine what that looks like. So I totally dig this. And of course, with the low gravity, it's really fun. So we kind of repeat going through the motions of this spot, right? Spot number 1, the ship. Spot 2, we just passed. Sometimes over here, there can be a boss. So this is a kind of third spot that we can go, but there are no supplies in that tent. So we just take a look and see whether there's a boss, and then we head on to the third major spot, or fourth, depending on when you count it. It's easy to get lost here, but it's sort of this narrow entrance here with that light, and we see that there's some folks fighting. There's a boss, so we get into the thick of it to make sure we get credited for fighting him. And we want to take after him. Someone's running away bravely from him. Bravely run away. Yeah, I know you're dying, but when you run away, then we can't take him on quickly. That's the thing about aggro. Sometimes you just gotta live with it. Yeah, so we fight this boss at this third kind of major spot. Once this boss is done, we can raid the area. And then that's pretty much the big heroic encounter. I mean, that's what we're doing in this event. We are raiding these little supply areas. This is the third, so there are 3 areas where you can loot these chests. And then we are bouncing back and forth looking for bosses. So it's the 3 bosses that are at supplies, and the 3 supplies. And then there is a 4th boss that roams. Sometimes you can find them kind of over in this area, but a lot of times it's more like over here. So you can see here he is. So I'm gonna see if I can't like bring him with me, and maybe other players will notice. Not all players know that this guy's here, so we'll see if more people can show up, then we can take him on. We are in an area where some people might see it coming by, so we'll take him on. We're not that many of us, but it's okay. They're not super hard. But those are the 4 spots where the boss is, and it's worth kind of going between them, because what happens with the looting thing is it's on a timer. So once we've looted supplies, there's a while where they go dormant and you can't loot them anymore until you finish. So that's where adding in this extra boss makes perfect sense, because the only other alternative is taking on mobs for the few supplies they drop, but they're it's not a whole lot, one at a time, and so it's better to just kind of do this. But otherwise we're going over here, and you can see I can't interact with it, so I'm just kind of hoping that the bosses will show up. And also ideally we would all be on the same schedule, so like all the players would be traveling in mass. But what ends up happening is, because we all show up on the map at different times, we've got different cooldowns on those supply chests, so we're kind of coming at different times. Like you see the boss just teleported in there, so that's good. Even though this chest doesn't work, wait for a few more players, and we can take on that boss. And you see, that guy was nice. Actually, well, said it not in local chat, but maybe they'll say it in zone chat, and that can help. Oh, but it ended. The event ended. There was only a little bit of time left. So that's it. And that's what it is. So that's the event. You know, right now, if we look at the map, the Xaryxian space will be unavailable. If we go, or Gabian space, this Xaryxian available, you can't go there. So the event ends. We have to wait till the next one, and we kind of do it. But you do it enough times, and you complete one of the weekly events related to it. So that's kind of the biggest of the. It's not even a heroic encounter. It's like an event that takes place, and you can see as people are doing quests, it'll go and fill up again. We'll be able to run it again, or we can switch to another instance that's running and just kind of run it over and over again for that currency. But story-wise is kind of the fun of it. It's all right. You're running around, you're taking down those 3 foes, looting the chest. It's like a fun thing to do, but not amazing, right? I like the other heroic encounters more in terms of the story, especially launching the catapults and things like that. Like, I wish we had a space battle where we were launching, and sees that fun thing go by. I wish we had a space battle where we could fire these catapults, right? Like these ballistas. That would be super cool to be doing that, or manning the ship in some other way. And you can get a sense for how enormous this ship is. I actually think this is too big. So the size of it, you'll see there is a dungeon, quote unquote dungeon, that we can run. And when you run that event, then it makes sense that this ship is really big, so there's a lot of space to cover. But in terms of a place for everybody to hang out, this is way too big, unfortunately. So I wish they did make it smaller, and I wish there was a battle where you were fighting other ships with these siege weapons. I think that'd be really neat. That's pretty cool. All right, so that is, we'll do the heroic encounters. You've seen the big Xaryxian Invasion that takes place. Over time, we're going to unlock more heroic encounters and more planets, and we'll do that next time. All right, so we're going to do a big heroic encounter on Belloria. So in this case, you can see, we said before, that huge shard that was here in this spot. So now we see that there are some catapults. These are actually from our forces, believe it or not. And so we're going to gather a few more people here. So in this heroic encounter, the idea is that we are going to have a big star moth appear up above in the skies. And we're trying to fight, I guess, kind of damage this seed in some way, or prevent. It's not entirely clear what we're doing, but we're going to do something here to kind of stop the forces, and it'll involve the catapults and a star moth, lots of enemy forces, and then a boss that'll show up. So we're getting a good number of people here. And I think we can start buffing up and heading in there. So what happens is we come out here. These are our friends. And we have the catapults. We can't use them yet. It's a little confusing because you kind of can push them around like other parts of the game. But now forces teleport here, and we're going to start fighting them and doing all kinds of stuff to take on the enemies. And so you can see these spots show up here, and this will help. Being here will help us drain the seeds of energy, which is a sort of percent thing that'll be on there. We also have to fight all the enemy troops. So we do a little bit of both, and in so doing, we will draw the attention of the others. So you see these big kind of bombs come from up above because there is a star moth up there, as you can see. And so we will, fight the star moth, or fight the creatures down here. Try to fight in these green areas when we can. And as usual, it'll be hectic, like any good BHE. We're gonna have some fun with the silliness of it. And at some point, we'll get to use the catapults. So right now we're just at 74%. We'll need more time as we fight from here and dodge the incoming blasts. This being a big heroic encounter, we can have lots of people show up. the more, the easier it gets, of course, because you have like lots of enemies that you can take on. And the troops come and go in waves. You can see, you know, a whole new wave shows up there. And I can invite people to come on over and join. As usual, if you can, because of this whole effect where we're lowering the percentage, the more that we can be fighting on this space, the merrier it is. Everybody benefits from it, but you don't, have to. A lot of people are going to be out there where the enemies are, and some people may not be aware of the effect, so it goes. And I think actually the percentage does kind of lower itself anyway. It's really hard to feel. It's not super tangible. It's not like you glow when it becomes obvious. So for all I know, it doesn't even quite work properly. But the percentage does go down in terms of draining energy. I'll invite another person here. And we will, when we get close to the bottom, then I'll go over and man the catapult so you can see that, assuming nobody beats me to it. Drawing people over here is great because then we can get to fight them here, and that's kind of helpful, but we've got to be careful when we get boxed in. You can end up to where you have so much of the foes on you, and then those red fields drop down. That can, like this, that can be pretty dangerous. A lot of damage in a short time, but the same thing can happen out there. You can get boxed in with a bunch of different foes. So we've got under 7%. I'm going to start moving over towards this area. Kind of claim the spot maybe. Ooh, of course the red zones are bad. So now you can see this catapult's here, and I've got to get rid of the enemies that are on me immediately. So like if I'm aggroed, it won't work. But then once we lose the aggro, I can press F. I load up the catapult and I fire it, and you see the idea is it's going up there and hitting that star moth, right? And that's the concept going on here. Now, sometimes there are multiple people, like that other person may be firing it, and that's fine. So if they want to fire it, I'll go over here and fight some enemies, but you got to see how it works. And so we are taking on these enemies while the two catapults, the one on the other side as well, are firing off. And when you do enough damage to them, then the boss will come out of that star moth. It's sort of unclear what happened. Like, did we... my guess is they forced them to teleport or to travel away, the star moth to travel away, and then... actually, what happened to the other... oh, there's the other catapult. So I want to make sure that we're always firing it. It's being weird about displaying the damage of the star moth. Eventually it gets, you defeat the foes, and Starmoth gets low enough that sort of no one has anything to do. So it's a little weird in how it was planned that way, constructed. Run around and just get coins, because you only need 2 people to operate the catapults, and then it's just sitting around waiting. There are no more mobs. But once that Starmoth gets down a little bit lower, I think, then we'll get in our boss to fight. But cool looking, the jungle planet, the hanging areas. And now we see our boss, Silver-Tongued Hanzu. And it takes no work at all for this many players to defeat Hanzu. And we get our rewards and complete this heroic encounter. I get some special dazzling star-woven pants, so that's pretty sweet. They do have the best names for pants here sometimes, things like broken pants or soiled pants. But that's it. So you saw the heroic encounter, the Seed. Here's a second BHE, and this one called Alchemist. We are in this kind of small area by the ancient ruins on planet Ramichi, and we can take on these barrels, which will blow up. And we can also fight the various foes here. So there are these what are called demolitionists that are here. And it's not one that I can say makes a lot of sense as to what's going on. I'm actually, it's a little weird. But eventually the main alchemist will show up and do battle. And that's fine. Yeah, it's sort of like, I guess, these Xaryxian enemies, the astral elves that we're fighting in all of the various pieces. They are, and I'm just going to invite some people here. They are coming to do battle with all of us. And so we got to take them on. So it goes. So we'll take on these guys. And what else? You get to see the kind of the various foes in addition to these barrels exploding, and the barrels kind of explode on their own at times, which is annoying because it's kind of not worth attacking them. They take a lot of attacks to take down, so they just sort of periodically blow up at you, and you just got to deal with that. So now we've defeated the reinforcements. We get the Master Sapper here, so we unload all our capabilities on the Master Sapper. I think I'll dodge that, but thanks so much. The Master Sapper kind of has this ability to shoot a big blue ray out like that. You can see quite damaging as rays go. It's a great one. Otherwise seems to kind of be a typical kind of caster type. But not too hard. And that's it. We have defeated Alchemist Flame. So we're going to do another big heroic encounter. Now we're here on the asteroid Zarbos. And this one, I'm not sure that it works. At least the first time I tried it, it did not work. But I'm going to jump over here and see if it happens to work. We'll go over to this corner here, and you can see sort of like a giant space hamster place. And the idea here is, oh, well, somebody's got it here. So these space hamsters, you like chase them. It says rescue the animals, and you kind of need to push them. You see the little red spot on that space hamster. Push them into this ring so that they get captured. But like right now, you know, I've got like 6%, right? Like, and so you've got to do like a lot of them. So I think maybe it's just not really well done, because you have to sort of sit here like, you know, getting these in there, and you hear like that a bling means you got it. Well, it's still 6%. Like, so let's go do another one. At least last time I did it, I did all of this work, and I'm already dying. And at the end of it, it was like 10% or 13%, and then there stopped being space hamsters around. So I don't know if there's something that kind of gets more hamsters involved. Plus, you've got all these foes, so you can like fight the foes, but you don't make a whole lot of progress, and new foes show up. So it's a little strange, but that's the concept. Lots of mind flayers running around. You've got this kind of heal myself if I can. Yeah. So you've got this boss here. In theory, I'm getting hurt by all sorts of creatures. I think I'm gonna die. Unless I manage to, yeah, I died. Yeah, so it's a really weird event, because you want to kind of help the animals, but maybe if you had a lot of people all just bringing tons and tons of animal of the little miniature, the miniature. I mean, here's some lore. So these do seem to be, you know, not giant space hamsters, but miniature giant space hamsters, or maybe what you'd call space hamsters. But I don't know that that's kind of how it's supposed to go. I guess I can heal this person up. They want to be healed. But you can see, you know, I got 3 of those things, and we're still at 6%, and I don't know that it's going to get any better. And like I said, eventually there actually aren't any more space hamsters showing up, at least when I ran it. So it's not a lot of fun, but that's the idea. So I should say that when we get to the ship again, to the Moon Dancer, we can come here and talk to Flapjack and turn in our quest for stopping the Empire. And I love this. What expedient returns? I feel less anguish, so you must have succeeded, or the people died. But I'm an optimist. It is good to know Wild Space can count on. Here is your payment. Return to me in half a fortnight, and we shall request your assistance again. So really funny. Like, you know, see you next week. And give you more quests. And so in this process, you know, we go through our campaign here, and we continue to progress along these lines till sort of the end of week 2 with all our combined quests. And we can take on more quests, and you know, kind of repeat these sort of things until we reach our weekly amount, which just for me and this character just needs, you know, 2 more quests and I'm there. If you like the work that I do, please consider going to the Drive-Thru RPG site to pick up the 2 products that you see here, or to the DM's Guild to find my work that is available there. If you go to alphastream.org, you can find lots of ways to support me, from Patreon to checking out my videos like this one, reading my blog, supporting the podcast of Mastering Dungeons. And you will find that if you join my Patreon, you will get both of these products that you see here for free. And just signing on to my mailing list at alphastream.org will get you one of them for free. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my work.